Hi, YouTube. It's us, Unnecessary Roughness. Today we got Andy Staples from The Athletic. We're talking food, football, fun. Like, enjoy, subscribe.
Comment.
All right, hello and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast. I am Brandon Walker. To my right, Catherine Statistics.
Hello.
To my left, Jack Mack.
Hello.
My chair is on fire, as you can see.
At least it's not your face, though.
Still haven't figured out these windows here in New York City. I
Nah.
haven't quite figured them out.
It's year 4, I think. Yeah.
I'll be gone by the time y'all figure them out, so who cares? Who gives a damn?
You'll be in Chicago.
I'll be in Chicago living the good life with my new friends. Won't need you anymore. Or you. Actually, I'll still need both of you tremendously. So.
There we go. Thank you.
So
You're moving to the big city.
especially you. So just chill, relax. Casey's still out on babycation. She's still milking that for all it's worth. Okay, you had a kid. Yay.
He's so nice.
Have you seen the baby?
Yes. I've met the baby.
Is he a precious little ball of joy?
Yes. Also, babies it doesn't feel real.
Oh, he's real. He's very
I know,
real.
but like it just keeps on moving. It feels like I've said it to both her.
Yeah.
I'm like, it feels like an animatronic.
He's not real to you because you get to leave. When she's awake at 3 a.m., it's very real.
I am not jealous. All respect to her for that.
It is. And my wife was sitting there the other day. We were back in our sunroom, and I was on the computer, and she was painting or doing something that rich people do. Anyway, we were sitting there, and she said, "I want to see a picture of the baby." And I said, "Casey, send me a picture." And Casey sent like six pictures. I just handed the phone to my wife. My wife just making these noises. Yeah.
She wants another one?
Oh, I don't think you're gonna get blood from a turnip, brother. I don't think you're getting anything.
Well, that's a preview for
Ain't
our...
nothing coming out of there. Gross. Preview for what?
We talk about turnips.
Oh, we do talk about turnips, yes. So on today's show, we got one of the great guys in college football. We have done about 5 or 6 interviews in the wake of Casey not being here. And by the way, Casey.
In the wake of it. That sounded like she died.
Casey, hurry back. We need you. Anyway.
I need him. I need you. There's too much.
Just relax. This is our 6th interview today. And I will say, and I don't know if I've said it every time, to me, I think this was our best one. Andy Staples walked in here. We talked to him for a smooth hour, and it's never boring. It's very good. One of the great storytellers in college football. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. We talked everything from food, conference realignment, recruiting, to football.
Talked a little shit about each other.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. Andy Staples coming right up. In fact, no, he's not coming right up.
Right now.
Here's Andy Staples right here. All right, up next on Unnecessary Roughness, we have been doing a series of interviews as Casey Smith is out still for maternity leave.
Yep.
But we're going on week 6 or week 5. I don't know. I can't tell. I know we've had some great guests. We've had Josh Pate. We've had Jason Brown. We had last week, of course.
Danny Cannell.
Yeah, that was the worst one. By far and away the worst one. Just not a likable guy, that. But hopefully we have put it all back together, and the car is back on the road today as we have one of the great voices in college football.
Yes.
He, of course, writes for The Athletic. He also has his own podcast, The Andy Staples Show, and his name, as you might have already guessed, is Andy Staples. Andy, thank you for joining us.
I'm looking forward to being the worst one yet next week. You guys made Danny break kayfabe.
Yep.
He said he actually liked the SEC as a conference.
And who knows what you're going to say, buddy? Who knows what I'm going to get you to say? I'm going to get you to say you don't even like food.
I don't right now. I was on a cruise all last week. I ate like a pig the entire time, and I got back. I was like, I just kind of want salad for the next 2 weeks, which is not a thought I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, that's against your brand, too.
Have you been a long-time cruise person, or is this the first cruise you've ever been on?
No, I went on one in college, and then we did a 4-day one with the family last August.
Okay.
And my family really liked it, and so they're like, let's do one on spring break. And then this one, for whatever reason, I didn't feel the boat rocking on the first one. I felt the boat rocking a lot on this one.
Oh.
I didn't like that.
Oh,
but
okay.
I did like the
Hugh Freeze
5-course lunch, 5-course dinner, and then an entire pizza at like 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Was the food good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You got to do the upgraded package. So you do the.
Are you planning a cruise later?
No,
I've never asking him about the boat.
Do it.
In this country we cruise, as Dave Portnoy has said. But there's cruise people and there's not cruise people.
I've never been on a cruise myself.
It is. So I like the part where you just get to sit there and lay out by the pool and read a book.
Sure.
I like the part where you go to the steakhouse for lunch, then you go back to the steakhouse for dinner.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of monotony going on after a few days.
We could sit here and talk boats all day, boys.
I don't know if you would like a.
I would certainly not like a cruise.
No, yeah, you wouldn't.
No, I don't like being. No. Me on a cruise?
No, you would. I think
There's
you'd
too
lose
much
your
sun.
mind.
There's too much sun. He wouldn't know what to do.
Oh, the sun. Yep.
He can't. Brandon can't be in the sun for more than 20 minutes.
He is somewhat fair. Like I see where that could be a problem.
Not really
The
fair
redness
as much
with
as
freaking-
fat. You got the wrong F word. It's I'm not fair. I'm fat.
Well, listen, as someone who spent most of his life as one of the kids with the T-shirt on in the pool,
Sure.
you can work around that.
Yeah. I'm just fat. No. I can't be in the sun. I can't be on a boat. I can't do any of it. But I'm glad that you did. So we were able to talk about it.
Yeah, we
and
love
Jack
cruises.
apparently is going to be a cruise
I want to go
cruise
on one at some
master on his
point.
next job.
That's right.
All right. So here we go. We're talking college football, right?
Well, I wanted to ask him about his books, but yeah.
No, ask him about his books. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, they're right behind him, and they were. How do you pronounce Trevor's last name?
Moawad.
Moawad. And yeah, no, I've read the It Takes What It Takes. I have not read Getting Neutral yet, and of course, we wanted to say rest in peace to Trevor. He unfortunately passed away this past fall. But I found it very interesting that you're a college football guy by day, and then a mental coach by night, mental training.
I am not a mental coach. I am
Okay.
a guy who Trevor, I got to know him. He was working with Alabama. So Trevor was a mental conditioning coach. He worked with Russell Wilson. That was his main client, but he also worked with Georgia at the end of his life. He worked with Michigan State with Mel Tucker, worked with Florida State when Jimbo was there, and worked with Alabama for a lot of the early part of the Nick Saban years. And I met him because I was doing a story for Sports Illustrated in 2011. I was like, what the hell's a mental conditioning coach? So I called him, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours, and we hit it off. And so we would talk about stuff over time. And then a few years ago, he calls me. He's like, hey, HarperCollins has approached me about writing a book, and they've sent me the names of these 3 writers. I don't know these people. I don't trust these people. Would you be interested in helping me write it? And I'd never written a book before. Didn't know how that process worked. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because I did understand what he was talking about, the stories he's telling from the Rose Bowl with Georgia or playing all the different early seasons with Saban at Alabama. Like I'd covered those teams. So I knew kind of where he was coming from, knew Russell Wilson's people a little bit. And I think that helped. So I could kind of translate Trevor into the book. And so we did that. It Takes What It Takes, which is a lot of fun. We, there's a chapter in there about Fred Taylor when he was playing with the Jags, and then obviously with Russell. And then the second one was tougher because he was going through cancer at the time, and it's about how he was using the stuff that he'd worked with athletes on to deal with having cancer and trying to beat it. And ultimately he didn't, but if you read, the type of cancer he had, he outlasted it a lot longer than most people do. So he was fighting like hell. But that's, when you read Getting to Neutral, you may shed a few tears because it was tough.
And he leaves behind an amazing legacy, obviously, with It Takes What It Takes, but Getting Neutral, I mean, writing that during that must have been,
and it was during the pandemic too.
Yeah.
Like it was wild. So it was all this stuff that you're going through in your daily life and trying to deal with. And it's like, okay. Because I've never been a real self-help person. I'm always like, yeah, suck it up, rub some dirt in it, whatever, quit whining. And this stuff actually helps because this is the stuff that he would use with elite athletes. Because they don't, the regular self-help stuff doesn't work on them. They're superhumans. So like they don't think the way we do. And so this was basically, he cut through a lot of the bullshit that the self-help stuff does, so that he could communicate with these freak athletes, and because they had different needs than the average person. But he's like, this could probably work in the corporate world or for the average person just trying to get through.
As an elite athlete myself, I'll have to pick that up and make sure.
Katie's the best athlete we have.
Well, that's not
a little
really
washed up.
Okay.
Well,
I guess she is technically.
She was.
You guys have to have the best. Like when Casey's back and you can go have a sub, like you got to have the best 3-on-3 basketball team at Barstool, right?
Well, we have the best basketball player at Barstool in myself.
Brandon is very good.
I don't know. Did you call me Brendan? I don't know what Jack brings to the table. Katie's going to be good too. Yeah, Casey's probably pretty. Yeah. No, we do.
I mean, Casey's tall too, so it's.
Yeah.
I think this would be an impressive group because I'm trying to imagine I know Jake Marsh can talk about basketball,
Sure.
but I can't imagine him playing it.
No, he's terrible.
I know Big Cat can get a little wet from three occasionally.
Yeah.
But PFT just seems more like a distributor.
Well, Big Cat's like me. He's going to give you 2 good minutes and he's winded.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you hell for about 90 seconds and then we're done.
Go for it.
One last thing on the books. Do you ever look at a college football program, as you do every day, and think this would help this program? Or does that not even cross your mind? I know you don't know the inner workings of every program. We rarely do, but I know you sometimes have gotten.
I can kind of tell the ones. See, the thing is, because Trevor worked with Saban so much, I'm a big fan of process based versus results based.
Yep.
And so I can tell which programs are more process based and which ones are more results based. And so, if you're not process based, you're gonna fail. And that's just life, period. Which I didn't figure that out until I was working on these books, and so I missed out on 40 years of the right information. But I remember I had coaches all the time would say, you gotta love the work, and I'm like, I hate the work.
Yeah.
I just want to go play the game, and the work. But the guys who love practice, the guys who love the time in the weight room, they're the ones that succeed, which is not most of us. It's not. So yeah, if I see coaches worried about winning and not worried about just getting the next step done right, you can tell there's gonna be a problem.
Before we go any further, you know what the most important thing to take care of is? Yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Take care of yourself. Put yourself first. Take care of this. Take care of this. Take care of yourself. You know how you can do that, Jack?
Tell me.
BetterHelp.
Yes, BetterHelp is great.
Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process. I know I'm still getting to know myself, and I like him more and more every day.
Me too.
Myself or yourself?
Both.
Ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah.
We're always growing, and we're always changing. We're always, and things are always happening to us.
That's
the
truth. Time.
To you, to her, to him, to me, things are always happening to us, and it's changing us on a daily basis, so we got to take care of ourselves. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want. We don't know what's right for us. We don't know where we're at, and we got to talk it out and figure those things out, why we react the way we do, until we talk through things with somebody. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on a journey of self-discovery from wherever you are in this great big world. Whether or not you've been in therapy personally, you need to check this out, okay? Because you might have an idea about what therapy is. You might have an idea about what therapy does for other people. Until you've tried it yourself, until you've gone through it and talked through it with somebody, it's going to open up worlds for you.
Yes, and BetterHelp is really helpful with the fact of maybe you don't like your first therapist, but BetterHelp will make sure that you can switch to the next person right away. And there's no questions asked. And maybe it takes a few. I've heard stories, people, they go through 4, 5, 6 therapists before they find the one. And it's a lot like dating.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Smith. She's not here, but we're still using her name.
Yes, we
That's
are.
what we do. BetterHelp.com/Smith today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Smith. Let's talk food.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
You want to talk some college football food? Yes.
Absolutely.
Starkville, Mississippi. That's I'm not from there. I'm from 15 minutes north, but I am Mississippi State-based. You ever been to Two Brothers?
I have been to Two Brothers. They do a very good job with because barbecue's tough these days because meat's so expensive.
Yeah.
But Two Brothers, because they do it in sandwich form and creative sandwich form.
Yep.
That it makes it where they can thrive in a very competitive industry. I'm trying to remember the thing I had there the
pork rind nachos, brother.
Yes, that's it. Oh yeah.
The pork rind nachos is what you had.
That is exactly what I had. That was the thing that jumped off the menu the first time, and I ordered. But I also had some sort of sandwich there that was pretty spectacular. But I think it might have been a special that day.
Well, they have these duck sliders. They have these
Yep.
they're delicious. The street tacos. Their smoked wings are wonderful and fantastic.
Oh, you know, it's the pulled pork grilled cheese.
Yes.
With it's Gouda and cheddar, and then they put jalapenos on it. It's spectacular.
Now let me ask you a question. Oh, go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. That whole area in Starkville has just really come up. What is it?
Ben 612 is across the street. The
Ben
place
612.
The area is called the Cotton District.
Yes.
And it's got Bulldog Burger right there. Has a new pizza place right there. Commodore Bob's is right down the road.
Is that where the dog, the wiener dog running is going to be?
The wiener dog is going to be. The wiener dog race is going to be there. It's I can't wait. I'll talk about the wiener dog race later. But all right, let's say I slid you a plane ticket right now, and I said, Andy Staples, here's a plane ticket, and here's $50. Go to exactly where you go get you the number one meal in college football for under $50. Where are you going? Where are you cashing that ticket in?
Well, I wonder if there's a private airfield in Tuscaloosa that I can drop in and just head to Northport to Archibald's and get a rack of ribs.
Really?
Wow.
50 won't get me 2 racks.
No.
But they'll get me a rack and a half. So that's pretty close to heaven right there. Because Archibald's, it basically looks like some guy's house.
Yeah.
And is burned down and like as all good barbecue joints have.
If it hasn't burned down once, I don't want to eat there.
Exactly. But yeah, those ribs are just spectacular. And it's one of those that, everybody says, "Oh, did you go to Dreamland?"
Yeah.
The locals
Right.
are happy to pass along that legend and let everybody go to Dreamland. They get mad when you start talking about Archibald's but the funniest thing is, like, some of the relatives have started it's kind of an offshoot. You got Archibald Woodrow's, which is actually a better location in terms of you're going to drive by it. You're going to see it from the road. So the locals are happy because even if you know about Archibald's, you still might go to the wrong one. And so it cuts down on the line at the real place.
The same thing happens in Starkville. Every time ESPN would do something, there was always Little Dewey, Little Dewey, Little Dewey. Little Dewey's a fine establishment, and I'm not going to hate on you if you go there. But people in Starkville didn't go to Little Dewey for the barbecue; they went to Petty's.
Yeah, see, I like Petty's better too. I went to Petty's once. I want to say it was I think it was 2010, the day of the Cam when Cam came on Thursday night.
We lost 17-14.
Week by Nick Fairley dominated that game.
Yeah.
But I ordered, they had something on the menu called Snoop. And I'm like, what's Snoop? And they're like, it's the face.
Snoot.
Yeah.
With
and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
All right. And it tasted like pig and it was delicious.
Yeah.
It's the face.
It's the nose and stuff. Yeah. Snoot.
And it tastes good. Wow.
Yeah.
What was the texture?
It was awesome.
Was the texture weird or
It's just like pork.
Oh, okay.
It was pig.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole animal, brother. The whole animal.
Nose to tail, baby.
Have you, Rooter to Tutor, have you ever had the cheese fries at Eskimo Joe's?
I have not.
Oh.
So I've been to Stillwater once. I went there for the Georgia game in 2009.
Yeah.
But then remember, I worked for Sports Illustrated, and I had nothing to do with the story, but there was a certain story or series of stories that got us banned from Stillwater for quite some time.
Yep.
So I didn't have I need to go now because I'm okay. I didn't write those stories, so they don't mind me. So yeah, I've covered their games on the road and talked to Gundy and those guys, but I do need to make a return to Stillwater so I can have cheese fries.
When we dip our toes into the food conversations and we ask the Roughnecks, the listeners, what place is the best to go eat, we get Eskimo Joe's cheese fries the most.
That makes sense.
And we haven't been there. I've never been there. We've been kicking around a food tour for 2 or 3 summers now. We just haven't done it yet. But I just think the food avenue of college football, when you talk about a good, because if you go to a college basketball game, you drive in, you go to the game, you drive out. College football is an experience that starts when you get on campus that Friday.
Oh yeah, it's a weekend.
Yeah,
and I love the places where you can kind of get every meal. That's why I think Athens is so great. For as small of a town as it is, you get, and Oxford's kind of the same way. Like in Athens, you can go to Mama's Boy for breakfast. There's a bunch of different lunch options, but like Pulaski Heights is good barbecue. You could do the Calientitos, which is a Caribbean place, but it's BYOB. There's a gas station next door. You get your 12-pack and hang out. And then you can do like the 5 and 10, all the Hugh Atchison type places for dinner.
Sure.
And then in Oxford, you have the whole John Currents empire where you go to Big Bad Breakfast in the morning, go to snack bar at night. In the middle, I don't think Currents is involved in Ajax Diner anymore, but Ajax Diner is like the perfect meat and three.
Yeah.
And they do a country fried steak sandwich for lunch that is one of the best things you will ever eat in your life.
Oh, the Oxford ones.
No, well, see, okay, so I am a reasonable guy, okay? I don't like Ole Miss. I hate Ole Miss, but I will never, ever crap on their food scene because it's pretty damn good. And if there's
well, Currents is an LSU fan too. I don't think that helps in your mind, but it
didn't help even a bit.
Where he's from.
But Ajax, if there's a better restaurant in the SEC for SEC football than Ajax, I have yet to see it because it's a phenomenal place to just.
It's a perfect meat and three, and the thing is, like, people outside the Deep South have no clue what that is.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yep, neither do I.
Meat and 3 vegetables, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Meat and 3 vegetables.
It's so I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. They have a chain there called Lizard's Thicket.
Yeah.
The quality compared to a place like Ajax is not even close, but that's where we would go eat for lunch and dinner. Like that, my mom and I would always eat there. And so it was weird to me when I moved down to Florida and there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
Because like you pick out, I'm going to have fried catfish. I'm going to do butter beans. I'm going to do green beans. I'm going to do collard greens. And you're good to go.
Let me educate the New Yorkers for a second. All right, so you get there. There's going to be about 5 meats you can choose from: a pork chop, a baked chicken, a fried catfish, meatloaf. 4 or 5 meats.
Pork chop. The pork chop's got gravy on it.
Yeah, and then you're going to have 8 to 12 vegetables, and you pick a meat, 3 vegetables, and
vegetables. Are you including like mac and cheese and vegetables?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah,
classic
mac and cheese is a
vegetable.
vegetable.
Yeah,
Yes.
No, anything that is not a meat is a vegetable.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay,
I like that.
And the vegetables, at least the good ones, have meat in them.
Yes, correct. The green beans have bacon in them. I haven't told you that part yet. But the green beans have bacon in them. The baked beans have bacon in them. Mac and cheese, cheese grits, all of that
Sounds
is
like
included.
a lot of veggies.
I mean, there's some corn. It's going to be creamed as hell, but it's corn.
So it's 3 sides.
I actually like the real vegetables, the green stuff, the turnip greens, collard greens, green beans, butter beans, lima beans. Like I'm a fan.
I'm not
of
a
actual vegetables.
I'm not a greens guy at all. Which coming from deep South Mississippi, it's kind of one of the things I'm hated for.
I don't like coleslaw, so it's the same deal. So
when I say greens, I mean greens, not green vegetables.
Fair enough.
I mean collard greens, turnip greens, stuff like that, mustard greens.
Well, Brandon, you're from a turnip green part of the world. Like, so my mom's family's from Selma, Alabama.
Yeah.
And my grandparents grew turnips.
Yeah.
And so we get fresh turnip greens there. And you ask for turnip greens in even in the South, they'll look at you like you're nuts. But like, I remember I was at a barbecue place in Montgomery one time. It was a rib place, and they had turnip greens on the menu. And I was just like, oh yeah, I want triple order turnip greens. Let's go.
So when I was growing up, my mom and grandmother would make collard greens or turnip greens because you got to cook them a long time. They would make them just so the house smelled like it. Wouldn't eat them. Wouldn't eat them. Would just make them. Would wake up on Saturday morning because that's what Saturday smelled like.
Okay.
They would about 8 o'clock. They just start them on the. They're just in water over there, and just all day they're going. And I'm sure my dad or my grandfather would eat them, but I never ate them once. But my house smelled like it every Saturday.
How far were you from Selma, Alabama?
About 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Selma's on the road going into Montgomery, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 45 miles from Montgomery.
If you left Meridian and went straight east, that's where it would be.
As a New Yorker, what's the difference between turnip greens and collard greens?
It's like the difference in like certain type of like red potato and white potato. Like it's just a difference. They're different types of greens. One's a lot more leafy, I think. One's a lot more spinach.
Well, and turnip greens are actually they come off the turnip plant, and we never use the turnip itself. I know other people do use the turnip, but like collard greens are actually related to kale.
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
Kale is collard greens' fancy cousin.
Yeah,
who lives in the big city.
And kale can get the hell out of here. Kale is the educated cousin that never comes to visit.
Yeah, I've never heard of turnip greens before today.
Oh, Kale? Well, he's at Harvard. We don't talk to him.
Kale's gross.
You got a question for Mr. Andy Staples that
Yes.
gets us off a collard greens?
Yes. I wanted to ask you about conference realignment and where we're at currently, because we're in a very interesting time for kind of not, I don't want to call them the have-nots because these are massive programs, but the ACC looks like it could be going through a change soon. The Pac-12 is, who knows what the Pac-12 is going to be in 5 to 10 years. And then the Big 12. My biggest question is, I guess we could start with the ACC. How do you think this will play out with Clemson and Florida State kind of saying, hey, you need to pay us more money?
It's a case of how daring their lawyers want to be, really.
Yep.
Because that grant of rights thing is
Insane.
real. It's basically your home games belong to the SEC. I'm sorry, to the ACC until 2036. And if they want to challenge it and they can break it, great. But you got to figure out a way. Could you get enough votes to dissolve the conference? I don't think you could do that, because I don't think there's that many teams that would feel like they were better off not in the ACC. Are you going to get more money? This is the part about the more money thing. Like, let's say I'm Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami. I go to Boston College and say, hey, give me more money. And Boston College goes, or what? Well, we'll leave when this contract's up. If I'm Boston College, I'm like, you're going to leave when this contract's up anyway.
Yep.
And me, president of Boston College, will not be president of Boston College in 2036. So I'm just going to be the dumbass who gave away money. So why would I do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, what would Pittsburgh, Louisville, I mean, these are schools that would do fine without the ACC, but they may not do as well. And then obviously it's kind of the haves and have-nots, but the have-nots in the ACC have the haves stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting is Clemson, Florida State were all there when all of this went down. And what happened was the Big Ten took Maryland, and they all freaked out. Mm-hmm. And they were all like, well, not all of them, because like Florida State had a their chair of their board of trustees was like, why don't we go to the Big 12? But the president at Florida State at the time, Eric Barron, who went on to become president of Penn State, didn't really have a stomach for any kind of realignment. The ACC old line schools wanted to stay together. And so they said to John Swofford, who was the commissioner at the time, get us some security. Well, he got him security. He got basically a TV deal that lasts forever and a grant of rights that once they added the ACC network and extended, because part of the deal for adding the ACC network was it extended the contract. That was what ESPN wanted in return, was a longer term. And so that's what they got. And they got security, but they also got handcuffed together for a long, long, long time.
Well, what do you think the ACC can even do to make themselves? I don't even know.
That's the problem. Everybody's like, find alternate revenue streams. I'm like,
where? Yeah, I was going to ask.
What?
Where could they even go? They could try to squeeze out, some more water out of the towel from some schools across the Atlantic coast, but I don't even know. I'm just trying to think strategically.
Yeah, adding doesn't help. Adding mouths to feed doesn't help. John Skipper said, why don't they merge with the Pac-12? He was the president of ESPN. He made the deal. Mm-hmm. So he knows a lot about that and understands the dynamics of it very well. And because that was something that came out initially after that last round after UCLA and USC decided to go to the Big Ten, was would the ACC and the Pac-12 consider a merger? And I kind of dismissed it out of hand right away because I was like, where's the incentive for the ACC members? Are they going to make more out of this? It just sounds like they'd be sharing their cable network with somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's not going to help them. And, Skipper brought that up again on the Levitard show a couple weeks ago. And I was like, okay, maybe he obviously knows a lot more than me because he made the deal, but I still don't see where the money is, because let's say you do that. You get into the cable footprint of Colorado, Oregon, Washington State, California, Colorado, Utah, Arizona. And so all of a sudden, those people who are paying 40 cents a month for the ACC network are now paying $1.40 a month.
Yep.
That is real money. But it's also real money that probably needs to go to the Pac-12 members. So if you're Florida State, you're not getting anything more out of that. So what's the point?
How important is cable footprint in the 2023 streaming landscape?
Way less than it was 10 years ago when it was the reason everybody was moving. And that's been the hardest thing to explain to people, because back then I was trying to explain, look, it's cable footprint they want, not TV markets. Because before it was TV markets. Then it was cable footprint. Like the reason the SEC went and got Missouri was because there were a bunch of cable subscribers in Missouri that you could soak for the SEC network. And you couldn't, if you got Clemson, you already had a school in South Carolina. Sure. If you got Florida State, you already had a school in Florida. So that was why they did that. But this, now it's sort of this bastardized thing where if you're the SEC, the Big Ten, and actually the ACC to a point, because the ACC is doing well with its conference network, footprint matters because that is still real money. Like if the SEC or the Big Ten could get North Carolina and however many million cable households are in North Carolina, that's good money right there. And so that matters now, but that might not matter in 10 years. In 10 years, like when the SEC contract runs out in 2034, I have no idea how we'll all get our stuff.
Yeah.
Like at that point, the best thing for the SEC might be to say, if you would like to watch every SEC game, you pay us $300 a year and we'll give them to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very, very possible.
Pay-per-view, yeah.
I had one question that was kind of similar to what he was asking as we go along this road of change. If you look over the last 3 years, I feel like we've gone through 30 years of change in college football when you consider the realignment, you consider the deals, you consider NIL being opened up, you consider the transfer portal now being opened up. We have had so much change, decades worth of change in 3 to 4 years. Isn't it remarkable, Andy, how college football has kind of maintained stability through one of the weirdest periods of change I've ever seen?
You want to know how and why that is?
Money?
Well, not just money. What I always said when people said, well, if they do this, I'm not watching, or they do this, I'm not. What the hell else are you going to do on a fall Saturday?
Yeah.
That part hasn't changed. I mean, think about the Alabama-Tennessee game last year.
Yeah.
That was the most amazing day in the lives of those 100,000 people in the stadium and the 5 million who will claim that they were in the stadium.
Sure.
Like, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
The liquor is still brown. The beer is still cold. It still feels great when your team wins. It still sucks when your team loses. It's still a big reunion every Saturday.
The air is still crisp on October Saturdays.
Right.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is still wonderful. And that part, as long as you don't mess with that, makes the sport viable forever.
Yeah.
So that's the part that you can't mess with. As long as they keep that going, they're going to be fine. They can deal with. And the reason all this change happened at once, part of it was the pandemic.
Sure.
And so we had to deal with change that we didn't expect or want. And then another part of it was it's the pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered thing. You know, the schools dug in for so long fighting the athletes who were taking them to court, fighting change, fighting giving the athletes even a penny more, that it all came crashing down on them at once. You had the kind of dual front war they were fighting. And then I don't think they expected the state legislatures to come in and go, you know what? We're going to let athletes make money.
Yeah.
Screw you guys. We don't care what you think.
Yeah, when the dam burst, the dam burst.
Yeah, and then the Supreme Court comes in on the other side of it going, hey, on this completely different front, we're going to vote 9-0 against y'all. And basically in the opinion that 8 of the justices wrote, say kind of between the lines, if anything else like this comes to us, you'll also lose 9-0. And then Kavanaugh just goes out with the flamethrower and is like, we're going to throw everything back in your face. So we don't want to see you again.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Pac-12, my biggest question right now is, will the Pac-12 exist in 5 years? And and then for those schools, how important will NIL be for picking the next conference? Or do the schools not even care? Obviously, they do care because NIL is everything to get the players.
NIL might not matter at that point.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was just trying to think out loud.
If they ever get to the point, and they will, I don't know when it's going to be, but they're going to get to the point where the athletes are employees and they have a collective bargaining agreement like the pro leagues do. because that's how you have
What
rules.
year do you think that will happen?
But Andy, how does that work? If college,
I'll give you the best idea somebody's given me.
all right,
The best idea that I've heard is the athletes aren't employees of the school; they're employees of the conference. That way, you're not dealing with state employment laws.
Greg's
and
saying
public
he's going to have
institutions and
hundreds of employees.
but will the SEC will
Hell
will
yeah.
an SEC soccer player be entitled to the same benefits of
No.
an SEC football player?
stuff. No,
Okay,
I mean that doesn't make any sense.
it doesn't. But that's the
No, but I see what you're saying.
those are the hoops you're going to
Yeah.
have to jump through.
If I had to guess, the best way you do that is you govern each sport individually.
Yeah,
And they can do that. I mean, look, college rodeo has a governing body. It's not the NCAA, but it exists.
The
Yeah.
college meat
judging.
judging.
The meat judging.
Yep.
Hey, listen, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, powerhouses in the world of meat judging.
by the way, how have you
So-
missed the boat on meat judging
Yeah.
in college?
You know, it's not nearly as fun as you might think.
No, I agree. I did the chili contest
Have you
once.
seen the?
and you feel
Have
awful.
you seen the four? Yeah, you've seen the 4-H contest scene in Napoleon Dynamite, right?
Yeah.
Where I think the cow got into an onion patch. That's kind of what we're talking about
Oh
here.
my God.
So,
Oh man.
but yeah, so you could do that. You could have individual governing bodies for each sport, which would allow you to govern them separately and have CBAs and have all the. Because listen, college soccer is not a money-making venture.
right.
College football is a money-making venture. College soccer is a charity. There's a difference.
Yeah, and it's subsidized at currently. A lot of them are.
Well, I mean,
by college football.
Is there any sport in major Division I universities that aren't subsidized by football and basketball?
Baseball in the SEC
All
is
right.
not. It certainly makes money. Women's basketball in some places makes money, and I think ESPN is probably going to have to pay more for the women's basketball tournament because some of the numbers it's putting out,
Then
it's actually getting more value. Softball
Softball
is a
does well.
very valuable TV sport in the SEC.
and gymnastics, it seems as if is getting.
Oh
really
yeah,
popular
they're packing
too.
the house at Florida, at LSU,
LSU.
at Auburn. Yep. So it kind of depends. If you can find your audience, you can make money.
One question I always had about the money-making aspects of college football, those numbers get released by the USA Today, and they say 95% of Division I football programs lose money. But is
Right.
that because it's almost impossible to quantify?
It's because the goal is to not make a profit, because if you made a profit, the IRS would eventually show up.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, no, yeah,
Like
okay.
the goal is to spend all the money, so of course they won't make any money.
That's my wife's goal too.
Exactly.
All right, no, I like that's great. All right, no, that's a great point.
You know, on today's show, we've talked with Andy Staples a lot about one subject. Do you know what that subject is?
Food.
Food. I can never talk enough about food.
FOOD.
And when I like restaurants, and we're talking restaurants, sometimes the hassle of going to a restaurant is too much. Sometimes the hassle of going to the grocery store to shop is too much. Sometimes you just need a quick, easy, fast-paced meal at home by yourself. HelloFresh.
Yes.
Makes mealtime easy with delicious recipes made with fresh, wholesome ingredients delivered to your door. These are not bad ingredients, subpar ingredients. These are the freshest ingredients. These are the best ingredients. They're sent right to your door. No lines, no hassle, just great tasting meals you can whip up and enjoy in the comfort of your home. With the cost of groceries going up and up and up, just like the cost of everything, eh, Jack?
Up.
Now's the perfect time to get started with HelloFresh. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. HelloFresh has 40 weekly recipes to choose from for all meal occasions, lifestyles, and preferences. Take your pick for meals like soy glazed salmon. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds
Very good.
amazing.
Mushroom and chive risotto. Does that sound good?
Ooh, risotto is very underrated.
Risotto's fantastic.
We love risotto.
You know what else is good? Chive.
Chive, yes.
Chive always tastes good. I don't even know what chive is. I just know what it looks like in my food, and it's delicious.
We love chive.
It's a type of onion, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
HelloFresh makes it easy to eat what you love. Customize select meals by swapping proteins or sides, even adding protein to a veggie dish. And now you can even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef on select meals. I've had it at my house many times. I have enjoyed it at my house many times. It's a godsend for my wife. She has 4 kids at home.
So
Sometimes
do
you need to cook a meal quickly.
Yeah.
And you need, what was that?
No, nothing. I was just like, that's how quickly you can make a meal with HelloFresh.
And it's not only quick, but you also don't waste anything. Because sometimes you need a pinch of this, pinch of that, and you have to buy an entire bottle from the grocery store. Whereas here, they just supply exactly what you need, so you don't have to spend $20 on something you're only going to be use a little pinch of, or it's going to go bad. Also, the sizes are huge.
If you're like Jack and you've been told you're getting arrested on Tuesday, time might be of the essence. And I just see, I was trying to make a joke about you, and I bit my tongue.
Karma.
It's fine.
Time is of the essence. Go to HelloFresh.com.
Yes, right now.
/Walker60. That's Walker60 for 60% off free shipping. We read so many ads. That's just an absurd deal.
No, we
Walker60 for 60% off free shipping.
And they sometimes even make it better, but this is one of the best ones they've
60% off.
offered.
That is so freaking ridiculous. Code Walker60 at HelloFresh.com /Walker60. I'm going to run through some football questions right here, Andy.
All right.
No food, no big picture stuff, just straight football. Over the next 10 years, can Kirby Smart be Nick Saban? Nick Saban,
Yes.
over the last 15 years, has won, 6 titles at Alabama, and you had a 7th if you go back to 20 years at LSU. Can Kirby Smart be Nick Saban for the next 10 to 15 years?
Yes, because this is what Nick Saban worried about. Nick Saban always worried if the right guy got in at Georgia that they could do what he does, but better.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's like. I was on Feinbaum in 2015, and this is in the preseason. So this was going into Rick's last year at Georgia. And I said, if Georgia's not great this year, they're going to have to ask some really hard questions because they've got the best job in America and they're underachieving. And I remember a bunch of people are, how could you say it's the best job in America? I'm like, it's not my idea. I didn't come up with that. Nick Saban said that.
Yeah.
And if Nick Saban says it, I believe it. And he's right. Look at what Kirby Smart has done there. He should have 3.
Yeah, it's a job that is right beside probably the best talent producing metro in America. It's a job that is also located central to the hub states around it are the best talent producing states in America. It's like if you put an airport directly but in the right spot between the best states and everything, this is what Georgia football is. It is right in the middle of everything.
Now, Georgia actually has the power to do this, so I don't know if I want to even speak this into existence. But if you could actually move Hartsfield Airport to Gwinnett County, it'd be over.
Yeah, it would be. And meanwhile, poor Georgia Tech's just sitting there in downtown Atlanta just thinking, hey, guys, can I give me something a little bit?
Yeah. Do you think Georgia Tech's in a way cursed because of that, or could they have a trickle-down effect?
So you know what Georgia Tech needs? And I don't even know if you can do this now because everyone would know what you're doing. Georgia Tech needs another major. Georgia Tech needs someone to endow a major that would make it easy to keep football players eligible.
Yes.
Because Georgia Tech is a hard school. I lived in a frat house at Georgia Tech summer of my junior year of college, or summer after my junior year of college. I was interning at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I had some friends who had gone to Georgia Tech from high school, and so they let me stay in one of their empty rooms for like $600 for the summer. And I remember watching those people work in the middle of the summer on their homework. That school's hard.
Yeah.
They don't have easy majors. They have a management major. You still have to take math for it. It's not the same as most state universities. Most large state universities have places they can hide people. And it's not to hide football players. It's to hide the dumbass kids of legacies and that sort of thing. But it works out very well for football players. Georgia Tech doesn't have anything like that.
Georgia Tech students are miserable.
Yeah.
They're miserable. They are absolutely grinding at all times.
So if I were a big Georgia Tech donor, I would endow an easy major. That's what I would do.
Wow. That's very smart. Instead of NIL,
that
would be Who's going to be the first? Has that ever happened? Has anyone created a major at a school?
I think so many football schools were so far ahead of it hasn't needed to happen.
Well, you guys had fake classes.
Yeah, but it was technically.
Oh, you went to North Carolina. There you go. Paper classes.
Yeah, paper. Yeah.
I mean, you see the issues Stanford has.
Yeah, no.
But those were available to the entire student body. Yeah. That is not an NCAA. This is how stupid the NCAA is. They charge them with improper additional benefits.
Yeah.
The definition of that is not available to the general student body. They were available to the student body.
They charged them with the one thing they could get away with.
Right. Well, I talked to somebody who was on the committee on infractions on that case, and they just basically laughed. at the NCAA enforcement staff. Like, how stupid can you be?
Yeah.
You had them, and you picked the one thing you couldn't charge them with.
Looking forward this year to 2023, I see Lincoln Riley kind of reestablishing USC. You've got DeBoer out there in Washington doing work. You've got Lanning, looks like he's doing work in Oregon. It looks to me like the Pac-12, I say the Pac-12 right now just to say, and let me say it better, the West Coast looks like it's getting its act together in football. Andy, how important is that to really have a national game and make sure that West Coast is strong?
I do think it's important because I think the cautionary tale is NASCAR, where it was kind of moving toward being a national sport, and then it sort of receded back to a regional sport.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep the money train rolling, you need college football to be a legitimate national sport, which is why I think they're doing the 12-team playoff, because you don't want to have entire chunks of the country fall by the wayside. Now, what the Pac-12 is doing, you got some good coaching out there, and the other combination is you got some really good quarterbacks coming back.
Yeah.
Like you think about the people. Caleb Williams is every draft. Nick is going to be drooling over him as the number 1 pick in the 2024 draft. He's so much fun to watch.
Yep.
Cam Rising's back at Utah. Bo Nix is back at Oregon. I think DJ Uiagalelei will be quite successful at Oregon State.
Michael
you
Penix.
look at what he's got. Yep. Michael Penix is back at Washington. Jaden DeLora at Arizona. Nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
He had a very good year last year. Cam Ward at Washington State. So it's going to be a fun league. It's going to be a league where I think you'll get some shocking results. Like I know you guys asked Danny, you said USC's the true or false USC wins next year. I don't know. I think I might pick Utah again.
I think I might pick Washington.
Oregon. There you go. Washington's defense needs to get a little bit better, but they had so many. Penix had this weird, we're so used to the Pied Piper effect of a recruit commits, like an Arch Manning commits to Texas and a bunch of other highly rated recruits commit. But now we have this thing where a really good quarterback comes back because they got a good NIL deal and they feel like they could improve their draft stock with another year. And then these players who were kind of on the fence about entering the draft come back too. And suddenly you're not just better, you're older. It's going to be a weird dynamic, and we're going to have to kind of figure out how that works and how much that helps.
And Kalen DeBoer can coach his ass off, man. I know there's so many big name coaches out there, like Lincoln Riley at USC. And we put all the attention on Lincoln Riley at USC. Meanwhile, Kalen DeBoer went to Washington and just won 10 games quietly as he could do it. And
he was great at Fresno State.
Yeah, he was.
And he may have been the secret sauce in Indiana.
Yeah, especially looking at Penix. I mean, Penix without him was just blah, and now he's back with them. And
what was that noise?
Blah.
Okay, that was very accurate description. You got something
on the Ash show, the Andy Staples show. He's with Ari Wasserman, who's a recruiting guy, and I wanted to get your take on the current state of recruiting. And we on this show oftentimes debate it. I'm the recruiting shill, bootlicker. When Brandon more so, and Casey when she's here more so calls the industry into question. Obviously, in college football, we're in one of at least how I would describe it to my friends and my family, a very dirty sport, quote unquote. Is
dirty? Okay, let's before we get to the question, let's examine dirty.
Yeah.
The idea of dirty in college football for decades was paying people money for being good at football.
That's true. What
the hell is dirty about that? Like, what is morally wrong with that?
Well, I guess giving recruits prostitutes to sleep with could be dirty.
But that's basketball.
Yeah, that happened in basketball.
Right, there we go. Let's just slide that in there real quick.
Yeah, but I don't. Obviously, I'm not trying to bring down college football as a whole, but I just wanted to ask: do you think the recruiting industry, which could possibly be skewed based upon subscribers for certain schools, do you think it's skewed, or are you in my boat, which says this is one of the greatest predictive stats and lookouts of players we've seen? Really, in sports.
Individual recruiting rankings are wrong, but aggregate recruiting rankings are rarely wrong. They established the baseline. Like you talked to Danny Cannell, he works with Bud Elliott, who does the blue chip ratio.
Yeah.
Now, Bud's going to have to alter the blue chip ratio to account for the transfer portal, but the blue chip ratio is a good cut line to figure out who actually has a chance to win the national title. Like, it is a legitimately good stat. And I think the fact that, like, I see the numbers get skewed all the time because you'll see NFL draft time. These first rounders were 3 stars. And well, of course there were a lot of 3-star first rounders because there's 2,400 3-stars a year.
Yeah.
And there's 300 4-stars and there's 32 5-stars.
Yeah.
Bud has those exact stats, but I think you're about
Yeah.
1,000 times more likely to be drafted in the first round as a 5-star than you are as a
Exactly.
3-star.
Exactly. So no, I see the value in it. And I also see where the fallacy is, because I deal with Ari Wasserman all the time. And he thinks because a school should be able to recruit, it automatically means you're good. Development, evaluation, all still matters. And like there are different kinds of 5-stars and different kinds of 4-stars. There's a 5-star that everybody wants. Like I'm always a look at who else offered and had a committable offer on a guy when he took your offer. And that's what, like I live in Gainesville. I was telling people for a while, it's probably problematic that Dan Mullen is beating out NC State for players and never beating out Georgia or Alabama for players. That's probably going to be a problem.
And
It was a problem. So like, that's what I care about, because when Nick Saban says he doesn't look at the rankings, he doesn't. There are coaches who do, and there are assistants who get bonuses based on it. But the best coaches know what a good football player looks like when they're looking at him. Like Kirby Smart, for all of his recruiting these incredible 5-star players, like Jalen Carter, 5-star out of Popka, Florida, getting him obviously very helpful for the program.
Yeah.
Flipping Jordan Davis from South Carolina, a 3-star.
Yeah.
I would argue just as important.
Yeah.
Maybe more important.
Having the wherewithal to acknowledge that Stetson Bennett was the right thing for the program at the time was also, and not just forcing in a 5-star guy.
Right, though it took them a long time to figure that out. Todd Monken was funny talking about that before the Peach Bowl. Like, he's like, we tried everything.
Yeah.
But he kept winning.
Yeah, and it almost, the right decision just kept coming back to him naturally, but it ended up happening. A couple more questions, and I'll let you get out of here. Are Oklahoma and Texas ready for this switch?
I think they understand what they're dealing with. Oklahoma and Texas are 2 different programs.
Yeah.
Texas has been good a few times. Like the Mac Brown era, they were really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Darryl Royal era, very, very good. Other than that, they've not been particularly great.
And Oklahoma is always good, yeah.
Is always good. Like Ohio State is always good, and Oklahoma is always good. Ohio State has fewer blips, if they have any. Maybe 2011, I guess.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma has the late 90s, and that's pretty much it. Like, they are good otherwise. And that's why I have more faith in Oklahoma to be successful in the SEC than Texas, because Oklahoma is just successful everywhere. Oklahoma was successful in the Big 8. They were successful in the Big 12. They will be successful in the SEC because they have very good alignment. Now, is Brent Venables the guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, if let's put it this way, even if Brent Venables is not the guy as an on-field coach, they'll have the roster. He can be their Ron Zook, and then they can go find their Urban Meyer, to put it in Florida terms. If he's the right guy on the field, then they're going to be just fine in the SEC.
Of the newcomers walking into the Big 12, UCF, BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, who would you put a tag on to say this team could be a year-in, year-out contender? This team could matter. This team could be one of the standard bearers of this conference. They have that potential. Do any of those make that leap to you?
All 4 of them.
Really?
That's what I love about the new Big 12. Like, I am convinced that the new Big 12, the 12-team league, once Texas and Oklahoma leave, I'm assuming no further realignment, which is probably a dumb thing to assume. But let's, for the sake of this discussion, just say it's going to be those 12 starting in 2024. That's going to be the most fun league in America, because every year you will go in with like 7 or 8 teams that have a legitimate chance to win the conference. And it's going to bring up some wars in like late October, early November. And that's what we haven't seen the particulars of their new TV deal. What I'm praying is they take over Friday night. Like, they just say, and I realize they have schools based in Texas.
Yeah.
Just do it when they're playing in Provo or when they're playing in Manhattan or Ames, whatever. Put your good games on Friday night. Let America fall in love with the product. because the product's going to be amazing. Like those are going to be good teams that play really hard, that are going to be fairly evenly matched and produce great games.
That is a great ass idea.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think if they could get more of a West Coast presence, it's not a bad idea, because you have a 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff from Orlando or Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And a 10 p.m. Eastern time kickoff from Provo or wherever.
Yeah.
And you own Friday night.
Why are conferences so scared of Friday night? Is it because of the high school thing?
Well, like in Texas, it's a legitimate concern.
Okay.
Like you really don't want to be having home games on Friday nights in the state of Texas. And I realize Houston's had to do that because of the American, and SMU's had to do that. But you probably want to avoid that if you can. But listen, do what you got to do. It's a dog eat dog environment out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love, because I'm telling you, those games, like those November games in the Big 12, when they get that lineup going, because K-State's going to stay good.
Mm-hmm.
As long as Matt Campbell's at Iowa State, they're going to be fun.
TCU.
Oklahoma State, we'll see what happens. That's a weird situation, but Gundy's been a consistent winner there. Joey McGuire seems like he's on the upswing at Texas Tech. At TCU, we just saw him play for the national title. Baylor won the league 2 years ago. Like, there's a lot of teams that can make noise. And, if you look, I think that version of the Big 12 is putting 2 teams in the playoff most years.
Really? Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I like that. See, the team I like out of this mix is Houston. I really feel like the manner of competitive that they've been over the last 30, 40, 50 years, despite the conference disadvantages they've had, is very impressive. And now that you take that disadvantage away, and now you put them on even ground with TCU and Baylor, it won't be immediate, but Houston has a metro area to themselves pretty much. I mean, they'll lose 5 stars to Texas A&M, Texas still, and they'll lose. But they have a tremendous metro down there to themselves. If they can use the Big 12, I think they can be a perennial top program in that conference.
Oh, absolutely. And Houston is maybe the best recruiting city in America, and maybe the best eating city in America too. So we can talk about the turkey leg on another day.
Hold on, really? New York, Houston? That got that good of food?
Unbelievable food.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Hugely
about
diverse
Houston.
population. Like you've got your Texas barbecue, but then you get the kind of Mexican influence, the Asian influence. There's a huge Persian community in Houston. It is great eating. But the Turkey Leg Hut is the best. It was founded by a former University of Houston women's basketball player and her husband. I hope it's still going. There were some rumors that it might be shutting down. I'm hoping not. But they smoke turkey legs. They did it outside the rodeo for the longest time, and then they opened a place. And it's the biggest party in the world on a Friday night. They got DJs out there, and so you got to get the shrimp, the Alfredo shrimp. So they stuff each leg with dirty rice. And in this particular one, they cover with Alfredo sauce and drop a bunch of shrimp on it. Top 5 dish in America.
Sold. I mean, I just say less. Say less, because I'm done. That's fine. This is how we'll get you out of here. I got about 5 rapid fire questions. They're just true, false. Okay.
All right.
And you can add whatever commentary you'd like to add onto them. Okay. True or false? Andy Staples. In 2023, the Big Ten's top 3 are equal to or better than the SEC's top 3.
This is a good question. Okay, so the SEC's top 3 we're probably assuming is Georgia, Alabama, and LSU.
I would assume so.
And then we'll see what happens with Tennessee or with some of these other teams.
Yeah.
And then obviously it'll be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State in the Big Ten.
Yep.
The question is, how big of the drop is there between the best team in the SEC and the next 2?
Yeah.
Because I do think, and you've made this point before, Brandon, where the chum of the SEC thinks it's national title quality, but is not much better than, or is not any better than some of these other middle tier teams.
Well,
in
the
other
SEC
leagues.
West last year was just bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think LSU's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
And I think people are sleeping on Alabama. Like, I think Nick Saban's got one more national title in him. So at least, and I don't know if he'll ever stop coaching.
The thing that scares me about LSU this year, Andy, is it took them a couple of weeks to get over that Florida State thing last year. It took them they just kind of stumbled out of the gate. If that happens again.
The first game with a new staff is a fire drill. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you've done it. Like, they screwed up the offensive lineup in that game. And remember, they put Emory Jones in at right tackle after that, and it fixed everything offensive line wise. They had maybe the worst special teams game you could ever have
Yep.
And they still almost came back and won. So I'm not as worried about LSU in terms of just not being good enough, like, or having, mechanical structural stuff that doesn't work. Like, I think they're going to be fine.
True or false? With Sam Hartman, Notre Dame is now a playoff contender.
Yes, that's true. Now, Notre Dame's defense is going to have to prove something. They're going to have some younger guys step up. Their defensive line is probably the biggest question mark. But offensively, they got two tackles. Joe Alt's probably a first rounder. They have two tackles that everybody loves. The backs are good. Tight end's fine. They need some young receivers to step up, but with Sam Hartman throwing the ball, I think that's probably going to help too. I think their offense is going to help them. It's interesting that whole offensive coordinator thing turned into a fiasco, but they're probably going to be fine. Like, Jared Parker's probably going to look like a really good OC because they got really good players on offense.
Yeah, and
like,
got a terrific quarterback. Good. Yeah.
So the question is, how good is their defense? Because that schedule is pretty gnarly. Like, I don't like having to go play Navy in Dublin, and then a couple weeks later you're going to NC State, and then Ohio State's showing up a couple weeks after that. Like, It's not an easy schedule at all.
It's wild the turns and twists that Notre Dame schedules will take through the years. Remember, a couple of years ago, it was so bad, and they ended up being 11-1 and not even getting playoff consideration because their schedule was so bad. Then last year it was brutal, and then it's just every year is a jump up in schedule quality or a jump down. A couple more, and you already kind of spoke to this, but I had written it down, so I'm not gonna. That work's not going to go unnoticed. The Pac-12 is the best quarterback conference in 23. Yet, true or false?
Top to bottom, true.
Easily true.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the concentration of quarterbacks in this country, the SEC is pretty much starting over at quarterback outside of a couple.
Right.
KJ Jefferson's
now, there
still
might be some really good ones, but they're young, and we don't know how good they're going to be yet.
But the Pac-12 is proven and deep at quarterback, and it's a very interesting – why am I answering the question? I asked it to him.
No, you're absolutely right, and I rattled off that list earlier, and I stand by it. It's a very good, and we don't know who's going to win the UCLA job. They got Colin Schlee, the Kent State transfer, who the trivia question is, what quarterback had the best statistical game against Georgia last year? Kent State's Colin Schlee. He's now playing for the Bruins, and then they got Dante Moore, the 5-star recruit, who. I mean, I got to assume he flipped from – it certainly seemed like the timing was he flipped from Oregon when Bo Nix said he was coming back. So that would lead me to believe that he believes there's a chance he can win that job right out of the gate at UCLA.
Also, I think ACC might be second.
Oh, certainly. Drake May and then Jordan Travis at the top.
Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
And then you have
How about Brennan Armstrong reunited with Robert and I at NC State? Brennan Armstrong was number 2 in the country in passing at Virginia when Robert and I was his OC.
And then Tyler Van Dyke maybe can come.
He could bounce back as well.
Yeah,
those are all good. Last one, and then we'll let you get out here. Deion Sanders, true or false, is the highest profile coach in the Pac-12 in his first season.
Lincoln Riley is a person who exists. So that's hard to say.
He is, but I wonder if Deion.
But I will say, I'll say true, because I can tell you right now. And I think you guys look at your numbers too. If you talk about Deion, your numbers jump. Does not matter what it is. He is one of those people. Like Tim Tebow is one of those people. There are just certain people that the crowd, the audience can't get enough of. And Deion's that person.
The biggest thing about Deion for me is he goes through generations. Your 50-year-old, 60-year-old uncle loves Deion. And you see that with Facebook numbers. And then the 18-year-olds on TikTok love Deion too. Maybe we posted a clip of him kicking a player out of a weightlifting because he was wearing the wrong socks. It got like 4 million views. And it's just because he's just I mean, he's truly one of the first camera coaches ever. Yeah.
Your company understands audience building in this generation as well as anybody. You guys have turned so much what would normally be just inner office stuff into content that like this, he's doing what you guys do.
Yeah, no, he really is.
And he understands how it works and how it hits the best and where it hits the best. And it's something that most of us olds don't get. And we don't think, oh, this is a YouTube clip. This is a TikTok. This is Instagram. He's got that figured out. Well, his kids
Sure.
And his people have that figured out. I think Deion Sanders Jr. is kind of the ringleader of all that. He's the one posting most of the stuff on YouTube. And they understand, like, they have a better media strategy than any college football program in America.
All right. Well, that is, that's right. And so I aimed to get about 30 minutes out of you. I thought that was inconvenient to you, but I aimed for that, and we ended up getting an hour. So
that was amazing. Thank you, Andy.
I'm not cool. I'm always home. That's anytime.
Your patience and your willingness with your time is very, very appreciated. He is with The Athletic. He's one of the great college football writers. He's the food guy. He's everything. And check out the Andy Staples podcast, the Andy Staples Show podcast as well. Andy, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, that's Andy Staples.